Yes, my friends, we are live coming at you on direct. Happy Monday on this game day for the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah, their 4-game road trip continues, my friends. They're in Vancouver tonight at 10:30, in Seattle tomorrow night at 10 o'clock in the aftermath of the Canadiens splitting hairs in the Battle of Alberta, winning a game 2-1, losing a game 5-3. And I got to tell you, right off the hop in the aftermath of that Canadiens loss in Edmonton yesterday, 2 thumbs way up, man. Obviously, I mean, stay out of the penalty box, everybody. Joel Edmondson just losing his mind. Arbor Jack guy, prone to the bad penalty. We're familiar with that. But ultimately, I got to tell you, Leon Draisaitl, 4 points. Connor McDavid, 4 points. And the Canadiens lose 5-3. You stay out of the penalty box. I think we're talking about a Montreal Canadiens team that swept the province of Alberta, and they go to Vancouver looking to make it 3 wins in a row. But that, my friends, is fantasy land. That is hypothetical land. We are based in reality. We are based in my Ash Gregoire Chambon and Nissan Maxima, the SR trim line, brother. And you can get yourself this beautiful car, this beautiful cabin, heated seats, heated steering wheels, power windows. I guess you can't really sell power windows anymore. Maybe like when we were in our dad's car when we were little kids and stuff, we could talk about, remember we had to crank down the window? Now we don't have to do that anymore. Everything's power sunroof, power windows, power everything. Ash Gregoire Chambon Nissan. Go get yourself your dream Nissan because they are Quebec's #1 rated Nissan dealership, and they can get you into your next car faster than everybody else. The Montreal Canadiens in Vancouver tonight at 10:30. Very much looking forward to this game. And let's talk about who the biggest disappointment is on the Montreal Canadiens this season. Who would you nominate? With everything going well for the Canadiens, 4 points out of a playoff spot as they go to Vancouver tonight. We could talk about the goals. We could talk about the competitiveness. We could talk about how this team is always in the fight. Nothing is rainbows. Nothing is gummy bears and unicorns. There is some dark clouds. There is some negative Nellies surrounding this very positive Montreal Canadiens team. So let me ask you, when I ask you the question, what is the biggest disappointment of this Montreal Canadiens season? What do you got for me? What do you got for me? Is it what? Is it Juraj Slafkovsky? Is it Evgeny Dodonov? Is it Mike Hoffman? What's the answer to the biggest disappointment of this Montreal Canadiens team to date so far? Because realistically, there haven't been very many. But I know the answer. I know who the biggest disappointment is of the Montreal Canadiens season, and it's really not that close. No, it's not power play inefficiency. No, it's not keeping Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl off the scoreboard. You know what the biggest disappointment of the Montreal Canadiens season is this year? I've got one name and one name only. Jonathan Drouin. Jonathan Drouin is the biggest disappointment of this Montreal Canadiens season. And I don't say this in a way to kick this guy when he's down. I don't say this in a way to pile on. As a matter of fact, I tend to go against the grain when I see all these online bullies and I see that everybody, this mob mentality is taken over. I tend to go the other way, right? Like, for example, a former colleague of ours, right, that listen, he made a stupid decision, a stupid judgment on Twitter, poking fun at a professional athlete's body, about their weight, about, kids shouldn't look at these guys as role models, Bad mistake, bad judgment. Don't do that. And, you double down, and you get yourself in trouble. But what happened in that instance was my former colleague who made that series of tweets and then became a bit of a national storyline was the fact that you just don't do that type of stuff, right? And, you ultimately end up on the wrong side of the cancel clan and everything else. But you know what had happened? The amount of bullying where the script got flipped, right? So you have the original person who comes out, oh my God, oh, everybody okay? We're falling down together here. The joys of doing this live on location, right? Oh boy, that was fun. Glad, I don't have a phone case. I hope my phone didn't get scratched. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the ride together, my friends. We are back. But you know what happened? My former colleague who made that stupid decision on Twitter and then got called out for it in a national way. The online bullying, the script had flipped at that point, right? They were outing this guy, where he worked, who he worked for, previous employers, where his children go to school, all this other stuff. That to me was a bridge too far. You want to take your shots because Buddy took a shot? Fine, I'm all in it. But there's no doubt in my mind, and that's what we're trying to avoid here when it comes to Jonathan Drouin. So I don't, put this in a way to pile on. The bottom line is he was the player I was most curious to see how they would perform under Martin St. Louis. We've spoken at length about the strong relatability factor that Martin St. Louis has going for him, right? So Brendan Gallagher looks like a different player. Obviously, Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki cannot be denied. Kirby Dach has found his niche on this team. The veterans have bought in. Caden Gooley looks like a budding superstar on the back end, and on we go. Even the goaltenders have been performing well. But the whole Jonathan Drouin saga, to me, there isn't a more disappointing aspect of this team than this kid for the Montreal Canadiens. And, when we go through it all, right, like it has been arguably the worst trade, I think, in my lifetime watching and paying attention to the Montreal Canadiens. It truly has. When you dig inside the numbers, right, Jonathan Drouin, the last 4 years of Jonathan Drouin as a Montreal Canadian, 117 games over 4 years, 15 goals, and 62 points in 117 games. I mean, I'm at a loss for words at how bad of a deal this was. And, I guess if we reflect on it, we kind of saw the writing on the wall in Tampa Bay, which we know now is a very smartly run organization, and that they kind of left this guy to languish with their American Hockey League team. And Jonathan Drouin at that point had basically demanded to be traded outside the organization. And I think now, with history in the rear view and the benefit of looking back on history, knowing the future, that the Tampa Bay Lightning were 100% on. Their read on this guy was 1,000% on. And the Montreal Canadiens, in order to get, had to give. And they gave their blue chip prospect in Sergachev, Mikhail Sergachev. Just drew a blank there on his name for a second. And with the benefit of hindsight, we can look back on this deal as it being the worst in our lifetimes around the Montreal Canadiens. And you know what? Like I've said repeatedly, I think it takes balls to execute a vision. It's one thing you and I can sit here and we can have this master plan. We can have this master plan of what we want to do. But you know what? It takes testicular fortitude to put that plan into action. It really does. And while we can sit here and cherry pick and be Monday morning quarterbacks, I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to kill Marc Bergevin for going out and making that deal. And at the time, making Jonathan Drouin the highest paid forward in the history of the Montreal Canadiens. And look, Jonathan Drouin came here with an open mind, with an open heart, I do believe. He embraced the challenge of being a center when I don't think he really wanted it. And he took that challenge on. Ultimately, it hasn't worked out. Nothing about Jonathan Drouin and the Montreal Canadiens has worked out at all. As a matter of fact, it's been worst case scenario seemingly year after year after year, to the point where this guy in the last 4 seasons has played 117 times for the Canadiens and has put up 15 goals and 62 points. And, we're past that point now. And it's amazing that in a short window with this guy's career as a Montreal Canadian, the narrative has changed so quickly. Like, I remember arguing with people on TSN 690 talking about Drouin, right? And we'd be looking, well, guys, look how many games he's played. At what point, 500-600 games, do we come to the conclusion that you are who you are? Because the narrative around Jonathan Drouin, and I get it, in this market, fans love their players, and I think for the most part, fans really fall hard for their players. And they see the pizzazz, they see Drouin, they see the promise, they saw his junior numbers with Halifax, and they're like, whoa, c'est un vrai vedette. This is a superstar coming to Montreal. Just give him the chance to blossom, you'll see. And then the parade of Francophone players are going to follow, and it's going to be les glorieux all over again. Wrong, not happening, swing and a miss, right? But at least they had the balls to go out and try to make that happen. And now that we see Jonathan Drouin, the narrative no longer is, well, with Martin St. Louis, now we're going to see. This is the year that this guy comes up and does some heavy lifting, right? That's not the case. That's not the case at all. I'm having quite the day here, my friends. And as a direct result, we've seen no progress. We've seen no forward momentum from Jonathan Drouin. And you know what the narrative is now? You know what the conversation around Jonathan Drouin is? Not so much as, can the Canadiens get anything from this guy? Is anyone going to take Jonathan Drouin off the books for the Montreal Canadiens? No, no. These aren't the conversations we're having. The conversations we're having are, is Jonathan Drouin ever going to play in the National Hockey League again? That's where we are with this guy. And I, part of me, as a human being, not as a guy who watches and pays attention to hockey and breaks down games and breaks down players and teams and projects what we think is going to happen, as just a human being, as someone that hates to see people kind of down on their luck. And sure, he's got a soft landing with over $5 million to cushion the fall with, but it doesn't change the fact the guy's hardwired to be a competitor. The guy's hardwired to play hockey, and he's not playing hockey, and basically doesn't play hockey. Doesn't even play 30 games a year. You know, over the last 4 seasons, he averages under 30 games a year. And that, my friends, has to suck to the high heavens. Full stop. You know, full stop. I don't get the impression that Jonathan Drouin is a paycheck player, you know, and that he's at the Subois and that he's at rave after rave after rave, and just, you know, splashing the pot with his big fat salary. No, I don't believe that at all. I believe that this guy wants to play and he wants to be competitive and wants a long career in the National Hockey League. But I mean, we are where we are, guys. We are where we are with this guy. So thinking about it a little bit more this weekend, yeah, Jonathan Drouin with a bullet is the biggest disappointment for me on this game day as the Montreal Canadiens go to Vancouver. And beware, my friends. The Vancouver Canucks, even though their record isn't all that flattering, we're not talking about, you know, like a great team in the Canucks here. We are talking about another potent power play. The Vancouver Canucks power play, hovering just around 26% in efficiency. That has them 7th in the NHL. Colorado's over 30% on the power play this season. So, number one rule, stay out of the box tonight. Take advantage of the hurt Vancouver Canucks. 10:30 puck drop, my friends. How late you guys going to stay up for this game? The comments starting to come in. Worse than Scott Gomez in terms of a bad trade. Yes. Like, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Ryan McDonough or would you rather have Mikhail Sergachev? Even take them at their respective careers, their respective ages, when they were each traded respectively. Give me Mikhail Sergachev over Ryan McDonough every day, all day. And look, you're also sold on the promise. Like, I don't remember exactly the narrative when Scott Gomez was brought in from the New York Rangers by Bob Gainey, but I can tell you that it wasn't close to being the same with what we anticipated to see from Gomez or Jonathan Drouin. Like, come on, let's be honest here. Like, when Drouin came to Montreal, the expectation, what we thought was going to happen versus Scott Gomez. Like, I like Scott Gomez, fun guy to hang out with, a phenomenal storyteller, has a very good Instagram, and by all accounts, the greatest like teammate. Everybody loves this guy. You want me to tell you a quick little story? You want me to tell you a quick little story about Scott Gomez? And I can't. There's only so many names I can mention here, right? I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but this is a true story. Scott Gomez, ready for a star story time? Here we go. Scott Gomez and I were playing golf this summer, and we were having a cocktail after our round, and we're shooting the shit about his time in New York, and he's crossing the border, blah, 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 blah. And one of the tricks he told me, I don't know why he told me, because I'll never be an NHL player. I was never even close to being an NHL player, was that when you cross over into Canada, just tell people you play in the NHL if they don't already know it. And you're going to have them eating out of the palm of your hand, right? And that applies in a lot of circles, right? More than just crossing the border. Maybe you're dropping that line at a bar or two as an NHL player in Montreal, right? But I digress. But he's telling me about Henrik Lundqvist with the New York Rangers, and apparently, King Henry is kind of tight. Doesn't like to move the money around, so to speak, you know. And at one point, Scott Gomez was playing for the Rangers, and Henrik Lundqvist was staying at his place because Gomez had been traded away. And so once Henrik Lundqvist gets the news that Scott Gomez had been traded, he's like, "Listen, bud, it's not like you're going to be using your pad in Manhattan. Can I just kind of stay here, right?" So it could show you, Henrik Lundqvist, no such thing as a free lunch. Well, apparently there is a free rent in Manhattan. And the other little anecdote that was relayed to me about Henrik Lundqvist and his stingy little ways was was Henrik Lundqvist, right? Finally gets his career contract. He gets the money. Now, this is the man. He gets paid like a number one generational goaltender. The New York Rangers give Henrik Lundqvist the bag. And all this while, there was a savvy vet on the New York Rangers. And he'd done a lot of hand-holding. Apparently Henrik Lundqvist is more looks than brains. And so there was a lot of hand-holding going on by veterans to make sure you calmed Lundqvist down, you kept this guy in check, kept his brain right, kept him calm, cool, and composed, right? And apparently this had been going on for a couple of seasons. This one savvy vet had been holding Lundqvist's hands for so many years, and then ultimately Lundqvist goes and gets the bag, gets his contract. Boom! Family is set for generations. What do? Lundqvist and his then girlfriend, the Rangers veteran, and his wife, couples dinner. Let's go celebrate. Our work together, our collaboration between veteran and rookie has paid off. Let's go celebrate. Let's go have a great, expensive, luxurious dinner at a great spot in New York City. Mission accomplished, right? Great job. Everybody gets a pat on the back and a delicious glass of wine. What happens? Fast forward 2 hours later at that very same dinner table, the waiter comes over and says, wow, I hope you enjoyed your meal. How do we do this? 4 checks, 2 checks, 1 check? What are we doing? Henrik Lundqvist just signed his generational contract. Family wealth for a generation. 2 checks, please. And there you go. That's my Henrik Lundqvist story as it was told to me by Scott Gomez. Lots of comments coming in today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Steph Howard, what to do? Hope you all had a good weekend. I feel he could have been a 50-point-a-season guy if not for injuries. Still not worth Sergachev. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, we see so many examples, right, of like what Martin St. Louis has meant to these players, and the what if, man, the what if. That's why I'm saying the biggest disappointment this season, if you're just joining me, is Jonathan Drouin. And I don't mean that as a way to pile on. Nikita McKean, Drouin will get another chance before he makes his exit. If anything, I see him fizzle out a la Galchenyuk, just the way Galchenyuk did. You know what? Go back. Like, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Why don't you go punch up Alex Galchenyuk on Hockey DB, go punch up his draft year, and see who's been producing in that draft year. Alex Galchenyuk, my friend, Jonathan Drouin, I think is going to wish he had the career Alex Galchenyuk had, the way it's going right now. J-Fed, guys made 25, 30 million in his career. He'll be okay. I don't feel for him. He can retire, go to Europe if he wants, or try for a PTO. Listen, I understand. Look, like I said, if you, I don't know when you joined me, J-Fed, in my conversation about Drouin. I was just talking about him as a competitor. Like I said, the fall from grace will be cushioned by the multi-millions this guy has made in his career. I understand that. My nose is so itchy, you guys. Santa Maria. The fall from grace is cushioned by the millions of dollars. I understand that. But let's for a second try to relate to him being a professional athlete, a competitor. And look, that's up for you. If you think that Jonathan Drouin is a paycheck player and coasts and has no heart, that's your opinion. That's for you to say. I don't believe that. And that's the angle I was kind of coming at you from, was think about him being a professional athlete. The guy averages less than 30 games a year for the last 4 seasons, right? And has 15 goals in 117 games spread over 40 years. That's where I feel bad. I feel bad for a guy who's hardwired to score goals, be competitive, and play hockey at the professional level. And that hasn't happened for 4 years. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Lots of comments coming in. Rick Springhetti, a friend to the show. What up, Rick? I like the player, but in my opinion, the Gomez trade was much worse. The Rangers actively trying to move him, and the Habs gave up McDonough to get him. It should have been the other way around. I don't disagree with that. I couldn't believe at the time that the Canadiens had to throw in pieces in order to get Scott Gomez over. And I remember the other piece to that puzzle was Brian Gionta. And when Bob Gainey went to Brian Gionta's agent and offered him the contract that he did, word on the street was Gionta went to Lou Lamoriello and said, "What should I do?" Lamoriello said, "Run, don't walk, sign that contract." But I maintain, like, I liked Ryan McDonough at the time. I didn't like the fact that they threw him in, but knowing what we know today, Rick and everybody else, knowing what we know today, Mikhail Sergachev, for me, is a much better defenseman than Ryan McDonagh with a higher ceiling. So that's kind of where I was coming from there. And Nikita, what's up? He's still a top producer from the 2012 draft. Exactly. Thank you, Nikita. I'm just seeing this now. It's what that's exactly what I was talking about when we talk about Alex Galchenyuk's career in the National Hockey League. Dadonov, Evans, Dvorak are Habs' biggest disappointments this year. That from Glenny Bauer. What up, Glenny Bauer? Is it true you're the heir to the Bauer hockey throne, Glenny Bauer? Is that you? But yeah, I mean, Christian Dvorak for sure. You know who else we haven't even mentioned yet? You know who we haven't even mentioned yet in terms of biggest disappointments on the Montreal Canadiens? You saw him out there Saturday night. Joyeux Yoel Armia. Thanks, but get him out of here. Get him out of here. You're gone. These are the players we're talking about here. Christian Dvorak. Looking at Evgeny Dadonov. Looking at Joyeux Yoel Armia. Joyeux, salut la visite, tabarnak. Get him out of here. Who else are we talking about? Biggest disappointments on the season? Jake Evans for me. I'm going to hold up and wait on Jake Evans for a second because I think a la Brendan Gallagher, these guys are trying to learn to play the game a different way under Martin St. Louis' watch. So that's where I'm at on this game day. Habs in Vancouver tonight at 10:30 in Seattle, tomorrow at 10. Let's talk about Cole Caufield, my friends. Let's talk about Cole Caufield and where's he at in his last 10 games. He's got 5 goals, 2 assists in his last 10 games as they go into tonight. And look, it's amazing, right, that when we look back on Cole Caufield, right, because we're all talking about Cole Caufield's contract. What's he going to do? How much is he going to get? Does he get more than Nick Suzuki at $7.8 million? You know, like in my world, if I'm building an NHL team, the captain makes X amount of dollars. And if I think this team with this foundation is set up to contend for Stanley Cups, then yes, I would want to follow the Boston Bruins model. And if you don't know what that is, Patrice Bergeron makes the most money. Everybody else falls underneath Patrice Bergeron. And I don't know if Nick Suzuki is that man for this team at $7.8 million and that Caufield and then Gooley and everybody else, when it's their turn to get paid, everybody slots underneath the captain. What I do know is I love goals. And what works for Cole Caufield and his representation going into some sort of contract negotiation is Nick Suzuki, for me, is the better player. All around, I think Nick Suzuki is the better player. He plays a tougher position, has more responsibility, yada, yada, yada. But you know what worked for Cole Caufield? The Montreal Canadiens. I'm 44 years old. The Montreal Canadiens in 44 years have never had a player like him before. Et voila, end of sentence. Give me my money. That's all. Like, you go around a Bell Center, walk around the Bell Center, and you tell me how many Cole Caufield jerseys you see, how many Cole Caufield jerseys you see. Poll 50 Montreal Canadian fans that are going to the game on some idle Saturday night. Ask them, who's your favorite player in the Montreal Canadiens? I will wager a guess the majority will say Cole Caufield. All of that stuff works in his favor. And then we could talk about how he was under Dominic Ducharme at .39 goals per game, averaging 32 goals, and now with Martin St. Louis, half a goal a game average, just above half a goal a game average, on pace for a 44-goal season. So again, I tell you, the Montreal Canadiens in my lifetime have not had a player like Cole Caufield. That ability to bury chances, and this guy, every level he's played at, scores goals. It's not like he popped on a William Karlsson Vegas 3-4 years ago. Whoa, where'd this guy come from? Jonathan Marchessault. So, whoa, where'd this guy come from? No. We've seen this before. We just watched in his last year in college, we watched him surpass Austin Matthews, Phil Kessel, the most prolific goal scorers in American hockey history. Cole Caufield's above those guys at that level, right? So, like, we knew this was coming. And so when we look at what Cole Caufield could do here, I got to tell you, Cole Caufield also, I just have to tell you, and I have no evidence to back this up, but I get the impression he rubs off on me that if he doesn't get his ask, it's going to be a problem. And I don't know. It's just a feeling I have. I would like to think that, you know, if Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield are going to be together for the next foreseeable future, you know, that Cole Caufield could see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and you know, you want to surround yourself with as much talent as you possibly can, with the ultimate goal being Let's win the Stanley Cup. So, yes, I do think we're staring down the barrel of a Cole Caufield contract north of $8 million, thus making him, I guess, with Carey Price on the roster still. He's not busy on Instagram telling the Prime Minister to get lost. Maybe he becomes the highest paid active player on the Montreal Canadiens. And that's where we are. Habs in Vancouver at 10:30, in Seattle tomorrow. And this is it. I've been telling you for the better part of a week, when the Canadiens started their 4-game road trip in Calgary last week, that was the start of the second most challenging schedule in the NHL. Only the Florida Panthers have a tougher remaining schedule of any team in hockey. The next team are the Montreal Canadiens. So get ready, my friends, because the circus is coming to town, and that means the Montreal Canadiens are going to be on the road. They're coming back here, and then they're going to spend a boatload of time over the holidays into January on the road. And this is it. This is where rubber meets the road, my friend, and the Montreal Canadiens are going to be climbing uphill. And who knows what the future has in store about Ken Hughes, what deals he's working on, what deals are on the horizon. Jay Fade is going to be watching the game tonight. I'd love to be watching the game tonight. There's no way I'm staying up to 10:30 to watch this game today. More from Glennie Bauer. What's up? Hughes smart. Brisson always gets the better of Habs GM. This is a different story, though. Different story. Never seen so many terrible contracts handed out by a team in terms of money and term. They don't take discounts like Tampa Bay players, Quebec tax, etc. To be determined. To be determined. I maintain, and I have said this for years, that if you can show NHL players a real chance at winning a Stanley Cup, languages, taxes, bullshit, all goes by the wayside. And if the day ever comes that Ken Hughes and Gorton can build this Montreal Canadiens team into an actual contender instead of a pretender, I think you can move all that stuff, all those distractions, the language, the tax, what school my kids are going to go to, I think all of that, honestly, if the Canadiens can turn from pretender to contender, all of that no longer matters. Week 13 of the National Football League regular season, my friend, concludes tonight. It's the Tampa Bay Bucks hosting the New Orleans Saints. Tampa goes into this one at 5-6. The Saints at 4-8. Of course, every team in the NFC South Division is under 500, and lo and behold, one of those teams is going to host a playoff game. And boy, oh boy, fascinating times. The Dallas Cowboys dropped 33 points on the Colts in the fourth quarter. That was Dallas's highest output in a single quarter in 31 years. By the way, Dallas looks very good. The Minnesota Vikings at 10-2, meh. The New York Jets had him, let him off the hook. And the Tennessee Titans, meh. Again, if they can't win against a Philly team that has a hard time stopping the run and Derrick Henry really wasn't active, then I've got no hope whatsoever for the Tennessee Titans. And, of course, the Cincinnati Bengals have done what no other quarterback has ever been able to do, and that's beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs 1, 2, 3 times in a row, and they did so yesterday. As we go to Week 13 with the wrap-up tonight, with Tampa Bay, they're 3-point favorites in this game. We've got a low total in this game. I also have a 3-leg parlay I like. So are you paying attention? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 7 weeks in a row, have failed to score over 23 points. 7 weeks in a row, their team total has stayed under 23. They're averaging 18 points a game. This is not a dynamic offense anymore. I think with the absence of Bruce Arians, with Todd Bowles taking over, I think there's been a period of adjustment, and I don't think Tampa Bay has adjusted all that well. But yet, I still like them, obviously, in this game. I think they win. So let's do a 3-legged parlay, if you don't mind. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the money line. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team total under 22.5. Remember, it's been 7 weeks in a row. The Bucs have failed to score at least 23 points. So we're going to play under 22.5 for the Bucs team total and an anytime touchdown score in Chris Godwin. So that's kind of our angle to wrap up Week 13 in the National Football League. Hope you had a great weekend. Don't forget, In the Car with Star comes at you every Monday at 10:30, every Friday at 10:30, and then every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. with our Sunday Sports. We go over the NFL betting board and, of course, any major headlines, including what's going on at the FIFA World Cup, where I'm currently talking to you, and I am currently missing the game that is going on right now. But the comments are coming in, and you guys are more important to me than some soccer game. Your thoughts on Jake Allen? Do you think he remains a Hab, and do you see potential with Montembeault? Thanks, Sammy. What up? I do think Jake Allen remains a Montreal Canadien, but you never know because look, Thatcher Demko in Vancouver's hurt. Jordan Binnington, I think, is a lunatic. Does Jake Allen go back to St. Louis? Probably not. But ultimately, you never know with the goaltending market. It's a very peculiar one. He's got a friendly contract, but I would like to see the Montreal Canadiens keep him. I think he's the perfect player for this team and where they're currently at. He seems calm. He seems mature. He doesn't seem to be rattled. I don't think he has very high expectations. I think he's happy to be a Montreal Canadien, and that makes me happy. I don't think Caden Primo's ready, and I think it's a good job to test out the waters of Sam Montembeault, who, again, in the early goings has impressed. He put up some good numbers, but do I ultimately believe in Sam Montembeault being the future keeper of the Montreal Canadiens? No, I don't. I think right now in the position he's in, the Montreal Canadiens are lucky. They're lucky to have the goaltending position that they do have, and like I said, I think it's well timed for where they're at. So in that context, I'd like to see the Canadiens finish the season with Jake Allen as opposed to maybe moving him at the deadline. But look, I mean, outside of Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield and Caden Gooley, I don't think there are any untouchables on the Montreal Canadiens. So you come at me with a great price, I'm willing to shop. I'm willing to negotiate. I'm willing to have a conversation, no doubt, every single time. And if you see now, we have a brand new sponsor, Axon, axongroup.com. And, of course, we're going to have a long relationship together. So don't forget, if you're in between, you're looking for logistics, a logistics carrier, think no further than my friends at Axon at axongroup.com. And, of course, K-Stop Gas Bar, longtime sponsors of In the Car with Star, and littlebearonline.com. The promo code has been scrolling on your screen down below. Black Friday savings still going on at littlebearonline.com. Promo code In the Car 10 to save more money at checkout. And don't forget, perfect stocking stuffers for your favorite pet, cat, dog, otherwise. They've got the best selection in toys, and of course everything you need to get your pet winter ready. It's not just our cars, not just our homes, not just ourselves that need to be winterized. Our pets do too. And of course, go seek the expertise that Chuck Altman and his staff at Little Bear Pet Store on St. Catherine in Westmount, or online at littlebearonline.com, and they deliver too. So like today where it's 5 degrees, it feels like minus 8,000. It's so cold outside today. You don't have to schlep outside. Go to littlebearonline.com, get your order in, use the promo code In the Car 10, and presto besto, they're going to send you your package delivered to your house, easy peasy. I wouldn't partner with anybody that I don't give my money to, that I don't give my business to, and so I encourage you to support me by supporting my sponsors like K-Stop Gas Bar and Deppener, premium fuel at discount prices, gas 24 hours a day, and the best snack selection in the snack game, end of sentence. So go load up, fuel up at K-Stop, get your snacks for tonight's Habs and Canucks game at 10:30. Enjoy the ride. Don't forget, Connor McKenna and yours truly, bright and early tomorrow morning to go over the Habs and Canucks. And as always, if you like this video, hit that like button, hit subscribe, tell your friends, all that fun stuff. Okay, guys, have fun. Go Habs, go. We'll see you Friday at 10:30.